things that you go into the book is follow up on sales leads. And you know what? As I was reading the book and going through it, I mean, that resonated with me because, I mean, we were talking stats beforehand, and you know, I've read a stat. I believe it's like 70% of all sales leads are not followed up on. It depends on in what context you're looking at it, right? But give us your thoughts on following up on sales leads and why it's so important. I mean, apart from the obvious that you could get a sale, but why is it so? Why do you hone in on that?
Well, because it is the easiest way for a company to grow sales. I mean, if they are doing any sort of lead generation activity right now, and they've got leads coming in, and they're not being followed up because the salespeople believe, that's a bad lead. You know, I can tell just by looking at it. You know, they're investing money that's just flushing down the toilet, right? As a business owner or business manager. So if you extrapolate over the statistics across industry at large, which says that, you know, anywhere from 40 to 80% of sales leads are never followed up. And I give an example when I give my talks in front of groups is that just take the number 50% of sales leads are never followed up across companies of all sizes and all industries across the United States. And there's, in aggregate, about $250 billion a year spent on, you know, traditional measured media, you know, advertising that, you know, that can be audited, as well as $100 billion. Well, there's $150 billion in measured media and $100 billion in sort of newer, non-conventional, non-tracked media advertising. 250, half of it, you know, $125 billion a year just flushed down the drain because a salesperson can't be bothered to follow up with the lead.
Yeah.
And the example I give it, talk about in the book, and I do this when I give talks to groups, is I say, you know, a sales lead is like a scratch-off lottery ticket. You know, you don't know what you have until you scratch off the wax on top.
Yep.
And so when I give talks, I'll come armed with some lottery card or scratch-off lottery tickets. I'll hand them out in the group. And I'll say, okay, I'll go to one person at a time and say, tell me, how much is that worth? And they look at it and say, well, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's the same thing with a sales lead. They're not all going to be winners. Most of them won't be winners, right?
Yeah.
But you don't know until you actually take the step of going and following up on it. And it just frustrated me when I was younger in my career that, you know, you'd hand leads to salespeople and they say, that's a bad lead. I can tell just by looking at it. And when I was in the process of writing the book, I was actually on a LinkedIn discussion group where there was these senior sales types. They were sort of, you know, one was VP of sales, one was a regional sales manager, but their sort of common bond was they'd all had sort of 20 plus years experience in the business. And there was a common thread, and basically a consensus this group reached was that I don't trust any sales lead that I haven't developed myself.
Andy, you know what's interesting, and maybe you can enlighten me on this. Do you think psychologically it's that a lot of salespeople just have an inner feeling of negativity about the whole sales process, or what is it?
We're not playing psychologists today here.
Yeah, no, I think that, you know, part of it stems from the whole sort of sales marketing disconnect, right? And especially now, marketing is taking with marketing automation systems like Marketo and Eloqua and HubSpot, and marketing is taking a much bigger role and ownership role in sort of lead development. And salespeople are just always sort of skeptical of things that come from marketing, right? What could the value be? So I think that plays a big part of it. And I think it, you know, part of it's just this conditioning. That's just traditions that's existed in the market. You know, how do people really learn how to sell? Well, yeah, they go to sales training, but fundamentally they learn how to sell by watching the guy that's been there, or the woman who's been there a little bit longer, that's sort of their mentor, you know, informal sales mentor in the office, and it becomes a sort of apprenticeship. So I think a lot of it's just sort of passed down, you know, sort of a tradition type thing, and it needs to be broken because, again, it is the easiest way in the world to grow sales. And I give an example when I talk about it in the book a little bit, is that, you know, this client who hired me to come in, and he had serial entrepreneur, this third company, and he had always been very successful and sold the two previous companies. And this company had been in business for 5 years, and momentum just sort of stalled. And hired me to come in and tell him what he could do. And so I came in for a couple of days and did an analysis and said I had the answer for him. And, you know, he jumped right, he says, well, I need to fire my salespeople. I said, no, you don't need to fire salespeople. He says, well, we need to have new products. I said, no, you don't have new products. All you got to do is, you're generating all these leads. It's just follow up the leads.
Yep.
Now.